Welcome to the fourth video in our pre-banking internship module, where we will discuss finding cold email targets. Method 1 to find cold email targets is using a Google search. Now, we're going to change up our search criteria and try different things. So first, we're going to try private equity firms, venture capital firms, and then capital partners. We're going to use different combinations. So on the bottom right, you can see common words to use in the search. We're going to use different combinations of these words and of these ones to try and switch up our search results. Now, it's also important to note that you can place vital criteria in quotes, which will ensure that each result that pops up has that criteria in it. For our examples, we're going to stick with private equity, but just know that you can do this with venture capital and other firms too. Along with searching Google, we're going to use Google Maps as well. So let's hop over to Google and see how this works. For our search, we're going to look for private equity firms in Fort Lauderdale. So let's get started. Our first search is going to be quite simple. Let's look up private equity firms Fort Lauderdale. And as we can see, there are some results here. We have Alterna Equity Partners, Hidden Harbor Capital Partners, Harbor Beach Capital, and Seven Isles Capital. So we can write down these names on our list. Let's also see if the maps produce anything different. Okay, so as we can see, there are a couple different firms here. So we see that there's Sun Capital Partners, Las Olas Capital, Fuse Group Investment Companies, Card Sound, Allele Capital Partners. So this is a great resource to use, and we can see that there's a bunch of new and different options on Google Maps. Let's try changing up our search criteria to see if we can get any different results. Okay, let's try private equity Fort Lauderdale with equity in quotes. Now, some of the same ones are popping up, so this didn't really change too much. But let's go see if the Google Maps show anything different. So on Google Maps, we can actually see that we do have a few different results. So we didn't have this one before. We have Terra Equity Group, and we also have Sky 18 Capital and Private Equity Solutions. So putting equity in quotes did give us a few different options. So for our last search, we're going to try Equity Partners Fort Lauderdale with equity partners in quotes. And we can see that this did give us some different options. So we haven't seen this company before. We have seen Alterna, and we also haven't seen Maroon Equity Partners. So switching up the search criteria and the use of quotations did give us some different results. Let's see on the maps. And looking at the maps, we can also see a few different things that we didn't have before. So now we can see Life Equity Partners and Blue Key Equity Partners. So this search did give us a few different results compared with our other searches. So switching up the search criteria and the use of quotes can give us some different options. Now, while we only covered a few examples of changing up the search criteria and using different combinations with quotes, feel free to mess around with this and really switch up the combinations and the use of quotes. It's pretty surprising how different the search results can be just by switching up the use of quotes and a few different words here and there. So try it out. For our second method of searching for cold email firms, we will use M&ASource.com and the Cobble Hill Group. M&ASource.com gives you a list of M&A advisors in your area, while the Cobble Hill Group gives you a list of private equity firms in your area. So let's get started. So as you can see, we're on M&A Source's main website, and let's navigate over to where we can find these people. So go to Resources and then to Member Directory. Since we already searched Fort Lauderdale for private equity firms, let's stick with that. I'm going to set the distance to 100 miles, and don't select any of these, they're not too important. Okay, let's find professionals. As you can see, we got some results in the Fort Lauderdale area, and we got a decent amount of results. We found 20 advisors from this search. We can look through these results and find these people's contact information and also their business websites. So this is perfect. This is a great list to find some M&A firms or advisors that you could potentially intern with. Let's go ahead and click on one of these. So as you can see, we have their website, their email address, and their phone number. So this is a perfect amount of information to get to know their firm a little bit better and then reach out about a potential internship. Let's go through to their website. And we can see that this is an M&A advisory firm in South Florida. So this would be a perfect firm to reach out to about a potential internship position. Okay, so now let's see how we can use the Cobble Hill Group. So to find the Cobble Hill Group, we're going to type in our state private equity firms. So let's see what this returns. As you can see, one of the first options is the Cobble Hill Group. So clicking on the Cobble Hill Group, we can see that they give us a breakdown of all the private equity firms in Florida and based on region. So here's private equity firms in Boca Raton, in Miami, Orlando, Tampa, and a bunch of different areas. So this can be a super useful thing to search for because it really breaks things down nicely. Now, this isn't all the private equity firms in Florida, so don't think that this is all the firms you can find. This is just a good starting point. For our third method of finding cold email contacts, we're going to search LinkedIn. In LinkedIn, we are going to search for private equity or venture capital or investment banking. And you can also search for M&A advisory or M&A. We will then filter for the city of our choice and use the people filter to see employees and the specific firms that they work at. Now, for our own search, we're going to focus on private equity, but just know that you should complete the search with venture capital, investment banking, and M&A advisory as well. We're just going to focus on private equity for now. So let's hop over to LinkedIn and see how this works. Here we are in the LinkedIn homepage, and let's go up to the search bar and search for private equity. Now let's navigate over to people, and then to location. Now, we're going to stick with Fort Lauderdale since we've been doing our other search methods there, but put in whatever city you're looking for. Okay, here we go. Let's show the results. This search returned about 1,500 results, which is a bunch of results. So looking at a few of these, we can see that we found a private equity associate at Digital Bridge, which we haven't seen before. We also see private equity at Core Trust, which we haven't seen this one before. We have seen Alterna Equity Partners, and we also have not seen Stepstone Group. So using LinkedIn, you can find some different firms than from our other search methods. So you can go through this list and through all of these pages and find these firms to look for. Once you find the names of firms using this method, you can search the firms on Google, find their website, and see if they have any emails listed. Even if they don't have emails listed, you can try and find the names of someone who works at the firm and then just use RocketReach to find their email. The next method we're going to use to find firms is PitchBook. Many schools have access through their library databases to PitchBook, so check yours out and see if you have access. If you don't have access to PitchBook, sorry, just skip through this one and get to the next one. Now, we're going to use the Investor Screener feature on PitchBook to find firms, and we can filter this list by firms in your area or any city that you're looking at. So let's jump over there and see how it works. Okay, so as you can see, we're on the main page of PitchBook, and we're going to go over to Investors. From here, we're just going to go to the top right. We're not going to change any of this, and we're just going to click Search. Once all the investors and funds have loaded, let's scroll all the way over until we find HQ location, and let's click the Filter button. We're going to stick with Fort Lauderdale and the Fort Lauderdale area, so let's type that in now. So we typed in Boca Raton, West Palm Beach, and Fort Lauderdale because they're all in the same general area and are within, say, 30 minutes of each other. So we can see that this returned a bunch of results for different investors and funds. So you can also look through this list to find firms to cold email. A lot of these will be private equity firms. So we've seen AE Industrial Partners already. We haven't seen Comvest or Elliott Investment Management or Prospect Capital. So there's some new names on here and some names that we've seen, like we've also seen Sun Capital Partners. So this can be a great way to find some different firms that the other search results didn't return. So sift through this list and see the ones that are worth reaching out to. This should give you more than enough firms to search through, look through, and send emails to. The last method we are going to use to find cold email targets is ChatGPT. We're going to search for some different criteria on ChatGPT to see what we can come up with. Note that you can also use other LLMs, but we are going to use ChatGPT. Now, it's important to note that ChatGPT is not the best method for searching for firms, but it can return some unique results, and it only takes like 5 minutes max, so we might as well look. Let's jump over there now and see how it works. So as you can see, we are in ChatGPT, and we're going to stick with searching for private equity firms in Fort Lauderdale. So let's type that in and see what comes up. Okay, so here's the results, and as you can see, there's a lot of repeats here. So we've already found Alterna, Hidden Harbor, Harbor Beach, Seven Isles. We've already found all of those. Now, I don't think we've seen Energy Capital Partners, so this is a new result. So it gave us one new result, and even though it gave us a lot of repeats, this only took us like 2 minutes, so it was worth it. Remember that the main goal of finding these firms is to find someone who works there, get their email, and ask them about potentially completing an internship at the firm. So let's look at 2 of the firms that we found using these methods and walk through the steps. Let's begin with AE Industrial Partners. So, searching for AE Industrial Partners, here's their website, so let's go ahead and click there. Now, many PE firms have a Teams tab which outlines the people who work there. So this is where we can sometimes find emails, or at a minimum, find the names of people. So let's click here. Here we can see all of the people who work at the firm. So let's say that we want to contact Charlie. Let's click on his profile. Now, there is no email here, but we can use his name to search for his email on something like RocketReach. So we could take his name, put it into RocketReach, and we would get his email from there. Now let's try to search for a different firm, Harbor Beach Capital. Searching for Harbor Beach Capital, we can see that their website pops up right here, so let's click there. Now, just like AE Industrial Partners, Harbor Beach has a Teams tab, so let's start there. Okay, so here we can see the team that works at Harbor Beach Capital. Let's click on Brian's bio. And as we can see, Brian's email is right here in the bottom left corner. So sometimes these firms do put their emails on the website, you just have to check the Teams tab. And even if he didn't, we could search his name on something like RocketReach and most likely find his email. So this is how we use firm names to try and come up with emails that we can then reach out to see about potential internships. Just like when we're networking, we need a way to keep track of these people. So we built this simple Excel tracker that you can use. This outlines the firm name, the location, the actual contact, their email, and your most recent email that you sent to them. So just like with the other sheet when we're networking, we can use these filters to filter for just Fort Lauderdale firms, just Jacksonville firms, or we can also look at this to see when we need to email this person again. So let's say it's been about a week since September 30th, we would know that these people we need to send follow-up emails to. Once you've reached out to someone, say 3 times over the span of 3 weeks, let's say Jonathan Drake, we can switch him out for a different contact at the firm and restart this process. Now, optionally, instead of doing this, you can also break it down by city with different tabs. So these are all people from Fort Lauderdale. This one would have all people from Miami and all people from Tampa. So it really just depends if you like having it like this or just having it like this so you can filter it. Coming up next, we will outline how to navigate calls that result from your cold emails.